Hey, it's Monster, one half of your dynamic hosting duo of the Nerdy Man Room Show. Proudly bringing you another Man Room Short. Enjoy, and as always, please remember, viewer discretion is advised.
You and I were talking just a little bit yesterday, and we saw that Freddie Prinze Jr. has announced that he has plans to start his own wrestling promotion. Now, we know from past history that he's a huge wrestling fan. Despite having a budding acting career, he still made time to say, "Hey, I don't want to act for a while. I want to go actually write for WWE," and he did that for a good little period there. And um, but coming out of nowhere with this announcement of he's planning on starting his own promotion, and I know when we were talking about this, you thought it was just kind of is this really a real thing, or
Yeah,
is this
well,
just somebody talking?
when I first read it, I was like, I forget what side it was, and I was like, this is bullshit. I just thought it was someone piggybacking off of, the fact that, like you said, he did write a good bit during the ruthless aggression era. Which, hey, he had a lot of good talent under his scripts during that time. So I mean, he's got the experience, but I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting, but at the same time, it's like, ooh.
Well, and the first I heard of it was just earlier this week, listening to another podcast and listening, and they were talking about it, and I was like, really? So I looked it up, and apparently he's already secured 3 years worth of funding. The promotion for the promotion, it can run at a loss for 3 years, basically based on the amount of money he's got now, depending on how much they spend for talent, obviously. But and he's saying that he could have it up and running within the next 18 months. He's already got a deal with a studio, and they're willing to work with him. His biggest thing about taking 18 months is just because they want him to travel overseas with them to do some stuff. And he's like, yeah, I really don't want to do that right now. And he just kind of said no to that. So they're taking a little bit longer. But, the few things that he's said about this promotion, he wants equal time between the male and female wrestlers, which I think is good if you can get enough female ones that are good. But I just don't see the talent out there for it right now. There's not a lot of them that are really at that caliber that you could give them equal time in the show. I think it would still be at best a 70-30 split, but that's just my opinion of what I've seen.
Because AEW probably has as deep a women's roster as anybody at this point, and you can tell they have those A grade players, and then it's like it don't go to B or C; it goes straight down.
Steep drop off, and that's what I was saying. If you had multiple levels, I think this would be great, but I don't think you have. I think you have A players, and then you drop down to about D and E list. I'm not seeing the middle ground talent there.
A third big promotion, I think, is going to be real tricky because there's only so much talent to go around.
Yeah, well, and here's the other thing that's going to make that really, really stand out and really different from either of the two big promotions right now is that besides wanting to do this on a scale of, hey, the TV is going to be in a studio that we own, we're always going to shoot it there and only do local house shows for ticket sales outside of the television taping. The big thing, was that he wants it to be under the Screen Actors Guild and Union, so everybody would be a SAG member to be in the promotion. So how will that could hugely affect the other two promotions, because now you can't go back and forth between them because you're in a union. They don't accept unions at the others. Does somebody look at those others and say, hey, if they can do this with the union, why aren't you doing it? You get into enough trouble in Hollywood and that entertainment world with that, and that can lead to some very big lawsuits, very big, hey, we're going to sign everybody for a union. And does Vince go for that, right? I mean, we talk about the two big ones, but Tony Khan would go for it.
Vince will never go for a union.
Yeah, that's what I think. I think Tony might one day, but I don't see Vince ever doing it. So where does that leave you then?
I'm gonna be honest. I think that's going to be their make or break. Really, it's a hell of a gamble that it may surprise the hell out of them and really pay off. But I think he would have done himself a better justice to say, what I'm willing to do is offer you medical insurance.
Yeah.
It's not something a lot of them don't do. When you get hurt, it's on you unless you're a top, A tier, talent.
Or you're serving another purpose in the company, like the EVPs and AEW. They've got it because they're considered employees. Everybody else is just a contract labor.
So if he'd offered some medical of some sort, I think he would have done himself just as much service as what he's trying to do with the union. And he's trying to get those, but unless he really lures, I'm gonna say he'd have to lure two huge names, and because who they're gonna work with? You don't want to see them work with each other because you've done seen that shit. And at the same time, who are they gonna work with? If you don't, so you got to have two huge names and then some really great talent to showcase around them, which was something that I will say AEW, they've done a pretty fair job when they started out with. They had 6 name brand guys, and then they kind of built around them. But some of those that built around them, ooh, they blossomed into some stuff, but they were not initially.
But even if he's able to sign 2 big names, they're going to have to be people who are willing to burn the bridge with the other 2 companies.
Oh yeah, they'll be done.
Because unless those other 2,
unless
something forces those other 2 to go union, they won't. And then where are you at? And I think it changes some other stuff in the game too. Like, so when you get into the union, just like doing your own stunts or doing things, they can refuse to do stuff in a movie or a TV show. Are they going to refuse? Hey, I don't want to get colored today. I'm not going to get juice. I don't want to cut myself, or I don't want to fall off that cage. And then it's like, well, what do you do now?
At what
can't
point does that take away
point.
the passion of the sport at that point? Because I mean, if you're known as a Jeff Hardy type wrestler, you go there, you can refuse that shit and still make money. I don't feel like this. I'm gonna go out here and do a few little hip tosses and call it a day. We'll ring it in and go. I don't know. I think he's maybe boxed himself in with some of these promises.
Yeah, and the union will make that worse. But I even see that now with AEW. Like, I see a lot of the guys on there doing some of the stuff that like that's crazy, and they'll do it. But if you look at the physique of some of the ones who have left WWE and then got into AEW, it's like, I don't have to work as hard. I'm gonna let myself go a little bit. And I've heard a lot of people talk about it, but just looking at them, like Adam Cole is a perfect example, and Keith Lee is a perfect example. Keith Lee has doubled in size since he left WWE and joined them.
It's not mass. It is chewed bubble gum.
Chris Jericho, when he got the flabby waist, and then Adam Cole looked like he shrunk to nothing. It's like, where did your muscle definition go?
I will give Jericho credit. He has lost about 25 pounds.
He has come back
now.
But for about 2 years, he looked rough.
Yeah, when he first got the title, he just let himself go after that, and I guess he knew he was boxed into 5 years anyway, so who cares? But
yeah,
and now he's nearing the end of his 5-year deal, I think. So he's trimming back down, and I see Jericho. He's wanted to go back. He will go back and finish with Vince.
Oh, I believe that too. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, we've got a while before anything, and it's just now been announced on. He announced it on his podcast, and then was on what's the guy's name? Ariel Helwani, that does a lot of wrestling podcasts, and he talked about it on there. But
UFC.
Yeah, I mean, it's out there now, so it's getting around, but it's 18 months away at best, so we'll see how it plays out, I guess. I'd like to hear more
when you get the teaser that Doctor Strange will return. You know you're 2 or 3 years away. It's hard to get decided.
Yeah.